So what I want to talk about is survive and thrive. Right? Both things are things that we go through in our business cycle. So my brother and I, and you'll get more of the story as we go through. My brother and I started a wealth management firm back in 1994. It'll be 30 years old this September. And I say we still, and like I'm not in the company anymore. I sold out of the company. But you're going to hear me refer to it as mine. So I'll send the recording to him and say, yes, I'm still there. We started at 94. I don't know if any of you remember, and I know some of you are advisors, and I don't know if you were around back then. But there was such a big dartboard in the late 90s. You could have put a blindfold on someone, spun them around, they could have thrown a dart, and they hit a winner. I can remember people coming into our office and being mad that they were only earning 15 to 20% because their friends were earning 25 to 30. And then, of course, so we were in thrive mode. And then we hit 2000, the dot-com, and then you went into survive. And then you start to thrive again, and then you hit 2008 and 9, and now you're back in survive. And then you start to thrive again, and then you hit COVID. Right? So, I mean, there's just certain cycles, certain things that you can and cannot control. So what I want to talk about is I want to talk about how you lay down a foundation and fundamentals, right? What are we going into right now? March Madness. What does every coach say? Right? You hear it, all the cliches, one day at a time, one game at a time. We just got a 6-game tournament. But we got to get back to fundamentals. So what I want to do is I want to talk to you about laying a foundation with fundamentals that you can use in either of those climates. Because I don't know if you are surviving right now or if you're thriving. It just depends on where you're at. So let's take a look at this. So I've been in your shoes, as Adrian mentioned. How many business owners do we have here? Yes, a lot of business owners. So obviously I started my own company in 94. I started Goodbye Money Stress in 2023. So I am a business owner. I'm an entrepreneur. But then I also took time away. How many employees do we have here? Not quite as many, but some, right? I've been in your shoes as well. And so I've been in your shoes. I've seen a lot of different things, and that's where I'm going to take that experience and try to share it with you. The first thing that we need to concentrate on is the hardest concept that I'm going to talk about today. Give you a quick example. My wife and I take our kids, and our kids are grown now, but when they were younger, we went on a family destination vacation. And I go into the kitchen to get something. I come out, the TV's on, and my wife and our 5 children are all on their phones. And it just struck me. So I said, how much silence do you have in your life? My wife and our 5 children, 0. They're like, they wake up and immediately they go to their phone. Or they go to something, and then they have the radio, and then the television, and there's just constant distraction. So what this slide is, see, the cage represents your business. And it's not that you're caged in your business, but as you're working in your business, you got emails and voicemails and prospects and clients to take care of and issues, and you're working in the business. When's the last time you worked on your business? So you have to open the cage door, and you need to fly away. So the thing that you need to do is you need to retreat. Now, I'm not talking like the white flag and you're waving it and say, that's it, I'm out. I've had enough. What I'm talking about is taking time to get away and to reflect. How can you work on what you want it to be? And I don't care if it's a business that's still up here and you haven't even formed it yet, or if you've been in business for 80 years. It doesn't matter. These apply. The foundations, it doesn't matter if you were playing basketball, right, in 1950 or playing in 2024. The foundation and the fundamentals are still the same. So you have to retreat. That's what we want to talk about, okay? Now, from that standpoint, is this the way your business day looks? Right? You're up, down, or maybe it's this way. Maybe you're just constantly in circles. Or you have one of those days that is just one of those spectacular days where you're upside down, but you're not really grounded to anything. Right? That is exactly the way that we go through our business life. And that's okay. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. But what we want to do is we want to take a moment, we want to pause. And that's really hard to do because nobody pauses anymore. So you have to bring yourself out of the business and you have to pause. Now there's some rules that we need to follow. So you want to write these down. First rule, you cannot retreat on site. It's absolutely impossible. You will get sucked into your business day, and as soon as you're sucked into your business day, you've lost the retreat. Because part of the retreat is to decompress. Now, okay, let's say that you don't have a lot of money, you're a brand new business, or you're thinking about going into business. What my brother and I would do is we would retreat at his house at the pool. All right, just grill out, just get away, get out of the office. We'd take a walk in the park. Maybe as we got a little bit more money, we would actually take our company on trips, but we would carve out days, usually in the morning, where we would go and we would retreat as part of our business day, the stuff we wanted to do in the morning, okay? So you gotta get off site. That's the first thing, absolutely positively. Second thing is your brainstorm recorder. And I'll talk about that in a minute. But the brainstorm recorder, pencil and paper is great. Now most of you are gonna use technology. But if your technology has access to work, which all of it does nowadays, then let me tell you what happens. I have great experience in this because I had 5 teenagers at the same time with our kids. That's how because we were a blended family. So they were between 13 and 19, all 5 of them. And you're sitting there, and I'm just going to explain what happens. You're going to be sitting there on retreat, and you're going to hear, whing, and you're going to start to shiver a little, and then you're going to start to convulse, maybe a little bit of frothing, and you're like, oh, I just got to look for a minute. It might be that prospect I needed to hear from. And as soon as you go out to that email or that text, you've lost your retreat. So make sure there's no access. When you're on retreat, you're retired, in essence. Now, maybe it's a couple hours, maybe it's a day, maybe it's 2 days. I would recommend at least a day, if not 2, that you do this, because it's going to take you a couple hours to just decompress from work and forget about it to a degree, right? So record down your thoughts, and then this is from Disney. So Disney would do Dreamineers, right? So a Dreamineer is a person that will, what they would say is whether you're looking at a theme park or whether you're looking at a new animated picture, what they would say to their people is like, just dream. Don't worry about cost, don't worry about the technology, don't worry about if it can happen, don't worry about the order of it, just dream and write it down. So that's what we're looking at doing. Now, what I wanted to do is I wanted to really solidify these 3 things in your mind. So what I did is I went to the source of all sources. And if Dr. Seuss says that basically you can steer yourself any direction you choose, then obviously it must be golden. But there's an important point in this. Right now, what I want you to do is draw an imaginary line in the sand, right? Where you're at right now. March 15th, 2024. That's where we are. Everything behind you is in the past. There's good decisions, for sure, and there's bad decisions, for sure. Some of the bad decisions you can't shake right away because you just got to carry the baggage with you until they can weed their way out. But it's all in the past, so you don't forget about it because you have wisdom there, but you can't change it. The point of the matter is you're at a line right now. Where are you going to go? It's a blank slate. Are you going to go this direction? Are you going to stay on the same path? Or are you going to go this direction? And the same path is not bad necessarily. Maybe you're on the right path. But unless you retreat, how do you know? So this is what you're really thinking of. This is why you go on the retreat. Now, it could be just you if you're self-employed. If you got a couple of other department people, management people, leadership team. First it started with my brother and I. My brother and I would just do it. And I'll talk about that in a minute, how we would do it. And then it developed into more of our leadership team of our company. And we would take time and say, let's sit back and think, where are we at with things, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the 3 ways. I'm going to break every presentation rule possible because normally you have to build up to this great climax at the end, and I give you the 3rd one at the very end, and you guys are cheering, and everything's fantastic. But all 3 of these are important to have right now because they all integrate. So where do I go with this? Well, what I do is I look at the best person that's ever lived on the planet, and that would be Christ. And how did Christ do things? Well, I mean, he was the best leader, the best motivator, the best person that inspired, the best communicator, across the board. He always asked questions. That's what he did. Because you know that the person that asked the question controls the conversation. So what's the first way that you can survive and thrive in 2024? What if? There's the essence of your company. What if? What if we do it this way? Well, the industry's always done it that way. What if we do it this way? Well, this is the way it's always done. What if we did it this way instead? Now, what if is not just a question. What if is a person? Any of you familiar with EOS? Right? EOS, visionary, integrator, etc. What if is your visionary? All you businesses have visionaries, right? Usually it's the owner. Might be someone else involved. Sometimes people can go a little bit between the two, right? My brother was the visionary. I could work into those waters, but I was much better at another level, which we'll get to. So he was the visionary. It was the what ifs. Now, what's the beauty of a what if? All of these ways have a benefit and a limitation. The benefit is the what ifs, they fly at 30,000 feet. They see trends and they see where they want to go and how they're going to get there. Horrendous at details, typically. They don't work in details, they work in ideas. So the what-ifers are going up there and they're flying right. If you had breakfast with them, they'd have 7 ideas. If you saw them at lunch, they'd have another 10. And they wouldn't coincide with the 7 they had at breakfast. So the what-ifers, the benefit is they're seeing the landscape. Where do we want to go and how are we going to get there in a big picture? The limitation is that they have a lot of ideas constantly flowing. Okay, so those are your what-ifers. The next way is the why not. Oh man, you need these people. These are your soldiers. These are when the what-ifer says, hey, this is what we want to do. What if we did it this way? The why not says, why not? Right? Tell me the wall to run through, and I'm going to run through it. They're encouraged, they're on fire, they're zealous, they're 100% supportive. What's the limitation? Is they're yes people sometimes. Here's a little clue for you, and I know none of the visionaries, especially my brother, likes to hear, is that not all the ideas that a what-ifer has is good. Sometimes they stink, and sometimes they're mediocre, and sometimes they're just right out of the ballpark. Awesome, right? The why-notters, the positive thing is it doesn't matter, because nobody likes change, because it's fearful. But the why-notters are like, yes, the what-ifer says, hey, what if we change to this? Why not? Let's do it. But the problem is they can just say, let's do it to everything, okay? So then the third way, and this is what you're doing on retreat, and I'm going to go through how it works. These people fire. No, I'm totally teasing, because this was me. Yeah, but the pessimistic devil advocate, right? This is the person that adds structure and form to everything. Yeah, but, right? My brother was in a hot air balloon, and he was going up at 1,000 miles an hour with his ideas. I was the one holding the tether, saying, yeah, but, so I got to add some form and structure to that. And you need those people. So now that's the positive. What's the limitation? The limitation of the yeah, but is, yeah, but we've always done it that way. Now that's not me. I will say, as a yeah, butter, that would be the integrator in EOS. That's what I was good at. I was good at taking the ideas and saying, okay, we're going to put form in it, and logistically, here's how we're going to do it, and here's how we're going to integrate it, and that's where I was much better. I could do some visionary things, but it's not an area that I floated in really as prominently as my brother. But I was the other one, because he didn't have the detail, and that's what I would provide. So he was like the bald eagle, we always used to say, flying at 30,000 feet. I was the kiwi bird in the weeds, seeing all the detail. And so, because I've never liked the, yeah, but we've always done it that way. Oh, that just stabbed me, right? Because, oh, yeah, but we've always done it that way. Well, yeah, but that was in 2000. That was 24 years ago. A lot of things have changed. You can't always do it that way. So this is what it looks like visually. You go on retreat and you have general ideas, you brainstorm, the what-ifers are just going crazy, but you still have the other people with you. That's fine, because you're trying to draw them into the what-if. That's my brother's always trying. I need people to help me envision where we're going to go. It can't just be me. It's too exhausting. I need other people to help. which is hard because if you're not programmed to be a visionary, to be a what-ifer, it's hard to go into that area, but you'd still try to do it, right? And then you go down to the why nots, the yeah buts, and you get to the business vision and structure. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to run this through business vision and structure. We're going to run it through positioning. We're going to run it through marketing and prospecting. We're going to run it through culture and legacy. Very quickly, we're going to do this, okay? Because I want to show you how it works. Okay, so what do we want? So there's two things on this slide. You see vision, and you see, at 30,000 feet, and you see runway. So let me tell you how my brother and I operated. We got our start into the industry there we go. We got our start into the industry out of the insurance business. My dad was in insurance for his entire career, so that's where we started. And so we'd go up to these insurance conferences, but we never wanted to do the things that they were doing at night. And so we'd go, and they were up in Minnesota, so we'd go to the Twins game. Or most times we'd sit in the hotel room, once we shared a hotel room, flip off the light at night, every single time. It'd be quiet for a second, and then one of us would go, I was thinking, what if we didn't even have the company yet? We didn't form the company until 94. But we were what if-ing. We didn't even know it was a what if. We didn't know it was a visionary. This is just what we were doing. What if we did this? So what did we want? We wanted a company that would pay us, make us a good living, as him and I, that would take care of our employees to the utmost, build a great culture. That was the second thing. The third thing that we wanted in our vision was that we wanted a company that would be very relational with our clientele. We didn't want to be the biggest asset manager. We didn't want to have the most employees. It was never the goal. It was just to build relationships and build a family with the people that we worked with. We wanted to be able to have the technology in place and build the structure that we could leave after 20 or 30 years, still own the company but not actually be on site, which was crazy, obviously before COVID. And then we wanted to leave a legacy. We wanted to be highly involved philanthropically, even as we were growing. We didn't want to wait till we had money. We wanted to do it as we were growing. Those were our 5 visions. We were what-ifing in the hotel room 3 years before our company existed. So we'll go through it all, and we'll see how we turned out here at the end. Now, what about the runway vision? Okay, so this is what you're asking yourself, is where are you in your vision? When's the last time you reviewed your vision? And is it doing what you want it to do? So what we looked at now you have to remember where I was at the time. Him and I, we were coming out of the insurance world from the 70s and 80s. That's what we grew up with. And what did the insurance people do then? And maybe they still do it today, I don't know. They went out to the kitchen table between 6 o'clock and 9 o'clock at night, and they actually sold their insurance. What if we ran a professional office, like a doctor, an attorney, an accountant? Why not? That sounds like a great idea. Yeah, but are people actually going to take time out of their day to come and see us to invest money, to look at their retirement? Because that wasn't our experience. Now, maybe other people were doing it. It doesn't matter. It's what your experience is. So to us, that was radical. We're going to form a professional office. People are going to come to see us. Okay, that's what we're going to do. We went to the next one, departments. Most of our experience in our life was people were one-man shops. And that's probably just because of the way they were trained, or they just didn't want to pay anyone to work with them. That didn't make any sense to us. We're like, well, we want to build a team because we want the team to handle all these other things so that we can do what we want to do, which is we want to investigate investments and companies and manage money, and I can't do that when I'm doing all of the other stuff. So just like a doctor's office, how many of you have talked to your doctor when you've called them? You talk to the front office person, and they give you to the nurse, you explain it, the nurse says, I'll take it to the doctor, find out what's up, and I'll call you back. You never talk to the doctor. We thought, why don't we do that? What if we did that? Yeah, why not? Yeah, but do people always want to talk to us? We're still available if they need us, if there's an emergency, but we have to train our people that they go to different departments. The last person you want to talk to is my brother about a form. That's not his thing. So we were forming our structure as we were going through these 3 questions. Relationship oriented. Usually in sales, you want to close pretty quickly. That was the tradition back, in the 70s, 80s, and probably still today. And so it would be a day, maybe 2 days, or not a day, an hour or 2 hours or 3, and then you either close it and you move on or go from there. We would spend on average between 14 and 20 hours with a person before they would actually do business with us. So what was the point of that? One is we built relationships. Now, we weren't guaranteed that they were going to come and do business with us. That was a lot of time. But I can tell you this, our point was always this: you spent all this time getting them in the front door, why you leave the back door open? That doesn't make any sense to us. Retention in the industry at that point was like in the mid-90 percentile. Ours is over 99%, still to this day. People don't leave when they come to us, generally. So that just made sense to us. And then technology, always invested in technology from a young part, from the beginning of the company, because we needed the ability to touch people. And we needed the ability to do that and to have the ability, like we were COVID ready 10 years before COVID existed. It was just the way it was like, well, yeah, let's invest in the technology to do that. So that's how you sort of run this from that standpoint. Let's look at the business. So where are your holes in your industry? So as we looked at so I went to the University of Michigan. My brother went to Michigan State. He graduated in business and finance. I graduated in sports communications. But as we looked at it, we said, how much literacy training did you get in your business and finance degree or in any of our education? None. I mean, I'm not talking CFO. I'm not talking, statistician and economist. I'm talking like, how do you manage debt and invest for retirement and stocks, bonds, and general financial literacy? 0. Oh, that sounds like a hole to us. So let's start a financial educational seminar. Well, we found one that was already in existence. We just licensed with them, and that's what we did. We put on educational seminars. In fact, that was our company's name at first, was Richmond Brothers Educational Seminars. And we would teach people. That sounds like a great hole that we can take advantage of. The next thing, now this is an important one. As we were growing our business, now we're 94, 95, 96. As we're growing our business, people would come and see us, and we say, well, why are you coming to us? Say, well, I don't hear from my registered rep. Okay, what does that mean? Well, they're not contacting me as much as I want. How often do you want to be contacted? Well, I'd like to be contacted, and they'd lay it out. So your clientele can tell you where your holes are, where the holes are in your industry. So we actually formed we had no idea at the beginning, but as we were meeting people, we actually formed our entire service relationship part of that by just those conversations. We formed it all based on what people were telling us. Well, we want to be contacted every quarter. Okay, we can do that. Because again, we weren't trying to be the biggest. So every 90 days, every one of our people get a portfolio update on what's going on in their account, or every 60 days, depends on what they want. And that all just came from our clientele as we were building them. So in your own businesses, where the whole, just as you're talking to people, why are you with me instead of XYZ company? Or if you're thinking of transferring to us, why? What's going on? And you can find your marketing right there, your prospecting right there is in what they're telling you. And it's not to badmouth anyone else, it's just to see, my Lord, that's a hole. What an opportunity for us. We can provide a service that none of these people are getting, and we can market that. Eventually, they're going to copycat you to a degree, and that's okay, but that's what we did. And then we were formed in 94. Where are the boomers at? They were starting to get to retirement, so it made sense to us that, like, my goodness, we should be working with boomers, people that are getting ready to retire, so that's what we did. So you just are constantly, what if we did this? Why not? Yeah, but is that going to work? Can we actually contact people every 90 days? Do we have enough, hours to do that? And can we make a living at it? No idea, but that's what we're going to do, and then we'll adjust it as we go. So you're constantly doing this. So now this is a good slide for the prospecting and the marketing, is we started with our educational seminars, but like anything else, you're going to get copycatted eventually, and it just waters down. So about 5 years into the financial seminars, not that people had gotten a lot smarter financially speaking, and literacy, because even to this day, there's struggles. But we were spending twice as much money and getting half as many people. So we said, okay, what if we did events? Well, what does that look like? Well, what if we like baseball? What if we got a suite at a Class A? They have the Lansing Lugnuts. It's about a half an hour away from Jackson. It's all entertainment. I mean, it's fun baseball, but they don't market players because the players, I mean, it's like the lowest professional ball that there is for baseball. We get a suite, we'll get up, we love baseball, we love sports, we can sit there for 3 hours in our suite and talk to people. That sounds awesome. Okay, that's what we're gonna do. So that's what we did. And we did that for a period of time, and then you continually are retreating, you're continually asking the questions, so what have we gone now 30 years later? We're back to seminars. I mean, it's not that you can't cycle back through them, but you're constantly looking at where are things at? Oh, that's not working anymore. All right, well, we don't have to beat our head against a wall. What else can we do instead? And then that leads to, referrals, same type of situation. Now, this is the essence of everything that's going on as far as your business, your culture. It's the thing I'm most proud about. And as Adrian mentioned, in our 30 years, it will be 30 years old this September. And in the 30 years, we had 4 people that have left the company. 2 we had to ask to leave. 1 left on their own accord, and I was the 4th one that left. So out of that many, now not huge, 15, 16 people or so is where we're at right now, so not huge. But to have a culture that's 30 years old and only have 4 leave, then obviously that was our second principle, right? We want a business that's going to do well for us. We want a business that's going to take care of our people. How do we do that? Everything that we do is for the team, not for him and I. It's all about the team. So when my brother built the new office building, as we grew, we went through different phases. The new office building had desks that can raise and lower. Now that's maybe not as big of a deal for some of you. My wife works at Whirlpool. 80,000 people working there. That's not a big deal. But for a company of 14, that was a huge expense. But you know what? That's good for our people. Now they can stand up, they can sit down. We actually put in a treadmill. Goes 2 miles an hour. Plug your laptop into it. You get a little tired in the afternoon, you can plug your laptop in, you walk 2 miles an hour, you can still work. Everything in our office runs through our laptops and through our cell phones. You can go anywhere in our office. You can go up to the sun deck, because we have an area that looks out over the airport, because we're at the airport. And you can look out over the airport and you can go up there and it's just like at your desk, right? What if we put in living rooms? Well, what does that mean? Living room, shouldn't you have cubicles and offices? And what if we put in living rooms? Well, why not? Yeah, but would people work? Now, this is way before COVID. So we actually put in 2 areas in our office that have couches with blankets and pillows and the little laptop holders, and people can go sit on the couch with the blanket and work at 2 different areas in our office and what we call the living room. Just trying to think differently, trying to let people know that we care about them and what they bring to our office. As far as empower, here's another idea that maybe you already do some of these. The one thing I noticed, my wife has always worked at bigger companies than I have, than I obviously have been in. And I just noticed the layers. I'm like, how do you get anything done? My Lord. You got to go through 17 layers to get a yes from someone to do something that should have been done, a long time ago. So everyone in our company, we had an account with the florist, a standing account. Anyone in our company had an immediate order of empowerment. That, let's say they're talking on the phone and they find out that, someone's dog died. Immediately they call the florist. It's a small little arrangement. Hey, Richmond Brothers, send this and then put this note that says, hey, we know dogs are part of the family. You're part of our family. We're feeling your pain. Send it out. Oh, they're empowered immediately to do anything like that in our company. And so that was just a way that we would empower them, give them flexibility to do things. Again, it's important when you're a smaller company and maybe you can't pay. We came up with a really cool pay structure. I'm not going to talk about that today just because of time. But a cool pay structure to work and to maximize the size of our company and how much we can pay. But tons of flexibility, changed hours for them. We put in the hours where you work, an extra hour Monday through Thursday, so you get out at noon on Friday. And we said, hey, we found a company that did it. So we took it back. What if we did that? Why not? Yeah, but man, should it be closed on Friday afternoon? Is that smart? Let's do it. Okay. So we did that. And it's funny, we put it in the summer, and we were going to switch it at Labor Day, and our staff came to us and said, we'd like to make it permanent. Why not? Okay, that sounds like it. So we still do that to this day. Be open. This is a great one. At one point in our company, we had myself and my brother, my mom, my dad, who were divorced, working with us at the same time, my aunt, and another lady that had worked with my dad for 20-some years and worked with us. We were huge on mentors, consultants. My brother uses strategic coach, and just all these things. How can I get better? And so we have a consultant come in. This is really early in our company. This is like in the first couple years. We don't even have the money for this, but we decide, what if we brought a consultant in? Why not? Can we afford it? No. Guess we're going without a paycheck. Okay, if it's going to be worth it, make us better, that's a good deal. So he visits with all the people in our office, and then he sits down with my brother and I. And he says, can I be honest with you? We're like, well, are you a why notter? Yeah, I don't need a yes person. We spent a lot of money to bring you in here. Of course I want you to be honest with us. He's like, okay, you guys are idiots. And I'm like, yeah, I'm okay with that, but what do you mean by that? He's like, what do you have your mom doing? Well, mom needed a job when, she was a stay-at-home mom, raised us all, and then when they got divorced, she wanted to get in the workforce, something to do, and we put her into, like data input. And he's like, your mom's like the most relational people person that exists. You guys are idiots for not having her out at the front face of your company. And I was like, wow. And of course, his two brothers were like, yeah, well, it's his idea. I always thought she should have been up front. I'm not the visionary, but I can tell you that's where I thought she should have been. And it was just like, oh my gosh, blinders. And I don't care who your employees are. You don't know them as good as you know your mom. And we still missed it. It was like, as soon as he said it, it was like, we are idiots. That's amazing. Because sometimes you need someone to come in that's got a fresh set of eyes to look at it. So we moved my mom out front. And my mom would not have made any of the requirements for someone you would have put at your front desk. Technology, telephone, ability to transfer calls, knowing software, 0, 0, 0 across the board. We actually changed the name. She's the director of first impressions. That's our first person. Why? Because he said if 50 people call and or come into your office, if 50 people call or come into your office, how many of those do you two talk to? Well, we set the company up, unless it's an emergency, pretty much 0, unless we have an appointment. And they're like, yeah, your mom talks to all 50, generally speaking. And it was like, my Lord. And people would call up, now granted, most of our people were retired. They'd talk to my mom for 30 or 40 minutes. Now, you could go up as an employer and you could say, hey, do your job, transfer the call and do the input. No. What was our third thing? Build relationships with our people. You talk to them all day. I don't care. That's perfect. Right? And then she'd go to transfer them to me, and 97 times out of 10, it'd be a dial tone. Buzz mom up. Hey, mom, you hung up on him. Oh my gosh, you'd hear the phone ring, and then you'd hear her laugh, and then they'd laugh, and then she'd buzz them back to me again. That's just the way it was, but it was worth it from that standpoint. When my mom ended up getting cancer, and when she got cancer, I'm not kidding you, that was the number of personal cards and letters she got. You couldn't put a better person into your front face of your company. So when she had to leave the company because of her illness, that was the most important hire we ever had. Who are we going to replace her with? And we found a lady that's like a clone of my mom, just she was younger. Give you an example, right? And she's also got technology issues. Across the board. You would not hire her. If you put the requirements up there, you'd be like, dang, what if we hired her? Why not? Well, yeah, but she struggles with these basic premises. But can she relate to people? We have a person, so we worked with retirees. We had people go all over the country once they retired from Michigan, right? So we had some in Arizona. One's calling her and talking to her and saying, oh, you know what, I missed the fall. Everything's brown out here. And they're just talking, no big deal. So as soon as she gets off the phone, she goes out and gets this beautiful crimson leaf, presses it between two pieces of cardboard, and mails it to our client and says, you know what, fall misses you too, so do we. Love, Richmond Brothers. I mean, that's priceless. So you have to be open to the fact that you might have blinders on, even with someone like your mom. Okay? And then have fun. This is another one. So if you are in the investment world, you know that when the markets go down pretty substantially, it's just a tough time, generally speaking. So my aunt actually came into my brother and I and said, hey, the bullpen, that's where our people generally worked. Morale's a little down. It's like, okay, what do you suggest? She goes, I think we should have a beach party. Now granted, this is like end of February. I'm like, okay, what does that mean? What do you mean beach party? She goes, I think we should do something here in the office, beach party. And I'm like, you work the details out, we're all in. And so what we did is we put it together for March Madness. It was the first Friday of the games. The games start Thursday, Friday, right? So it was the first Friday. And we have 4 huge screens in one of our living room areas for conference calls and things. And we had all the games on. They had bought little kiddie pools and filled them with water. They brought in sand. Everyone wore their stuff. We cranked up the heat to 85 degrees in our office. We had Jimmy Buffett roaring on the speaker system. We had the blender going, and we had Nerf gun fights, and and we did that on a Friday. It was like, absolutely, everyone blew off steam. So you just got to have fun. So if you've never read the book Fish, or if you have, read it again. That's the way we built our whole company, was off Fish. It's a great, great book. And then our legacy. So the Warren Buffett ideology, what does Warren Buffett do? He's been pretty successful, right? You find a company that's really well run with really good people and you just leave it alone after he would buy it. So we took the same ideology, right? We hire really good people, we train them really well, and then we let them do what they do. So I ended up leaving the company, and I'll talk about that in a second. Where's my brother at right now? My brother's chairman of the board. He still runs the company. My brother right now is in Lake Tahoe. That's where he lives. So what did we want to do, right? We wanted to have something that would take care of us, him and I. We wanted something that took care of our people. We wanted to build relationships, right? We wanted to have the ability to leave the office at some point, because they're not doing business with him. The whole purpose of it was you're doing business with our entity. So we have natural succession. And then we had the investment in technology. And then legacy is just scholarships and just, you name it, we got involved with it in our community, just because we thought it was important. And then even worldwide, we're a huge sponsor and person for an orphanage in the Philippines and so forth and so on. It was my brother's ideology to do it. Don't wait until you have the money. Start doing it now, even if it's smaller amounts. Help others out. So that's what we wanted to do. So retreat every year at a minimum. If you can do it every 6 months, that's great. Get away, off-site, right? No tie-in to work, and then just dream. Just dream. Let it go. And then start to put structure to it as you go through the time, right? So we might do a retreat for us might be the first hour or two, we're just sort of decompressing, social time, relaxing. And then we're starting to talk about, what if we did this? Hey, the industry's always done this. What if we did this? Just write it down. We'll worry about the details later. So we do that for a couple of hours. Maybe have lunch, sit around, chew the fat. In the afternoon, we do some more, and then we start putting some structure into it. Okay, I think this one's more important than this one, and this one's more important than this one. How would this one work? And then we do that over the course of basically 1 to 2 days, okay? And I put this up here because I don't know if you're getting ready to start a job, if you have an idea of a job, if your department that you run at your company, if you're a business owner, or you might be all the above. Everything I've just talked about works across the board. Foundation, fundamentals. And I put Dorothy Vaughan up there. I don't know if you know Dorothy Vaughan. Oh man, I love Dorothy Vaughan. I love the story of Dorothy Vaughan. So have you ever heard of Hidden Figures? Yes. So she's the person that basically, she was a human computer, right? So it was before NASA was NASA, National Academy for something Aeronautics or something, NACA, N-A-C-A was what it was called when she came in 43. In 48, 9, somewhere in there, she became the first, I think it was the first female supervisor. But you have to remember, back in that time, right, to be African American and female, that's 2 strikes. And she's a supervisor, and she notices that they're going to go to machine computers, not people computers, for advanced mathematical calculations. So she goes to the library, checks out a book, and I think it was called Fortran or something. I don't know, someone, maybe an engineer in here. Fortran? Yes, sir. Yes? Okay. So, and she basically self-teaches herself, or self-teaches Fortran so that she makes herself indispensable and gets all of her people from the human computer department to go, and then she ends up running that department. So what did she do? What if I actually learned the language of this computer? Why not? Yeah, but I am a African American female in 1950. I'm going to do that. What was the business positioning, right? What was her vision? I want to keep my job and keep doing this because I love doing it. What was the positioning, right? There's a hole there, and the hole is no one knows how to run that computer, which was as big as this room, like a IBM 7090 or something like that. I don't know, it was huge. But she ran through all of these questions, right, that we're talking about. Here's some examples. If you're old enough, you remember that BlackBerry was Apple before Apple was Apple. They were the digital phone company, or the mobile phone company, I should say, right? Yellow Pages. If you're old enough, where did you go to get a phone number or an address, right? And then look at Sears. Now, Sears in 1989 tried to online sales, and they quit. 1993, they quit their catalog. My father-in-law worked for them for almost 40 years, and I had no idea that you could actually buy a house through the catalog in Sears. I was like, seriously? He's like, oh yeah, you could buy a house. I was like, that's amazing. Anyways, somehow or another, now maybe they did what if, why not, and yeah, but, and they just decided that buying online and delivering by mail would not work. That was a bad decision, right? Because Amazon started in 1994. Obviously, it appears that does work. So, first thing, retreat, get away, decompress, dream. Anybody ever seen the movie, I don't know if it was called Air Jordan, it had Ben Affleck, and it had, was it called Air Jordan? Yep. Okay, the Air. Okay, I just watched it, but there's a couple of scenes in there, and I can't remember that character that Matt Damon plays, but Ben Affleck is that Phil Knight, right? Yes. Okay, so he's Phil Knight. And there's a point in the movie where where Damon says to Affleck, says to Phil, you know, when you started the company, you took these risks, and he's like, well, now I have to answer to share. It was like he got so conservative with blinders on, the company stopped being what the company was. So that's why you do this for your own company. Again, start up to 30 to 50 years, it doesn't matter. Do what if, why not, and yeah, but. Okay. Quick testimony, and then we'll do some Q&A if anyone has any. So obviously, you'd have to, I guess maybe he was pointing to me, the consultant, when he says you guys are idiots. Because who starts a company and goes through all the ups and downs, and then when the company actually starts to just really hit the peak, right? 2009, I would say I had my St. Paul moment. So I was always on the fringes of the faith. So I'm Catholic, and so we would, you go to Mass and so forth and so on, but it was a very apathetic role. Life and world and everything else was more prominent. 2009, I'm sitting in a retreat with my youngest son, and it clicks. And this guy's putting this retreat on. It was for one of the Saturdays. It was first communion for him. And I go up to the guy, I'm like, I need a Bible for dummies. He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, I don't know. Are the Hebrews and the Jews the same people? That's where I'm at on my knowledge. He's like, wow. But I'll tell you what, we were talking about it, I think Tim and I were talking about it. You can get through the coaches, the parents, and right? So this guy put retreats on, not for the kids necessarily, it was to get to the parents. Well, he got one here, right? So we started a Bible study together. And anyways, and that was March 8th of 2009. I can tell you exactly where I was sitting on March 8th of 2009 in the gymnasium of the elementary school where we were holding the retreat on a Sunday afternoon. And then that led, and my brother's always been, as a visionary, you follow your passion. Doesn't matter what it is. Just follow and we always encouraged our employees to do that. So he's like, well, follow your passion. Well, you can get these classes. So anyways, long story short, I ended up getting a degree in theological studies. And I find out one of my charisms is teaching. So that leads me to the Catholic High School Lumen Christi, Jackson Lumen Christi, if you're familiar with them. I was born and raised in Jackson. So I go from really good level of living to Catholic high school teacher living. There's a slightly different model there. And I can remember the first time that I had to get, like the first 2 weeks I was at school, I had to get a day off. One of our kids was going to college or had to do something. And I'm like, well, I'm going to be gone that Friday. And the person's like, oh, would you fill out the form and ask for the day off? I'm like, form? I said, I haven't asked for a day off in 25 years. If I want a day, I just take it. I was the boss. It's like, I got to fill out a form and get permission? Oh, heavens. This is going to be harder than I thought. So I ended up doing that and just having Christ in my life that way, integrating him into everything. And it's a process. I know a lot of you have gone through that. And find mentors, find people that are above you, that are more engaged and do things a little bit better and live it a little bit better and model after them. You can still do the same thing, right? What if, why not, yeah, but. You can do that in your faith too. Absolutely. You can do it with your kids and parenting. All across the board, those things work. And that's why I think it's universal. But so I ended up teaching at the school and then ended up running a little radio station, which actually I loved. And I would have done that for my career. It was a small Catholic radio station. So I got to talk about God all day, and I got to do sports broadcasting, which is what I actually went to college for. And so, but my wife, she got an opportunity to move to South Haven, and that's where she'd always wanted to be. So I was like, okay, we're going to move to South Haven. So that's what we did. But bringing Christ into your life, even if it's later and a little bit later in life, where I was, right? So a couple of my kids are wayward. They're prodigal sons and daughters way out. Most of that's my fault because I didn't model it for them as they were growing up because it wasn't a big deal to me. But as it's become a big deal, they're like, oh my Lord, Dad, you're a Jesus freak. I'm like, oh, yes, I am. God bless you. And I'm loving it. So to do that, and especially as you're looking at just the way life is today, especially like the retreat, right, is to sit there and take time and pause and reflect and understand what's important. And that, I think, is just absolutely key. And when you can do that and you're grounded in a person, right, just like what if, why not, and yeah, buts are people, obviously, so is truth. And that's what you ground yourself in. And so with that can then lead you, and even though there's been a lot of ups and downs with everything that's going on, as I've left the company that we built, and that was the reason I left, is I went up teaching full time. And from that standpoint, it's like, okay, Lord, you got this. I surrender. Here we go. I have no idea what it's going to look like. My wife was like, are you going to ever make money again? I don't know, but hopefully it gets us both into heaven. So there, you can thank me then. So anyways, questions or anything that anyone has in these last, I'm the only thing that separates you from cookies. So, but we do have a few minutes for questions, about 6 minutes, if there are any. Are Jews and Hebrews really the same thing? I have, in fact, found out that, yes, and in fact, Moses was one of the ones that invented coffee, Hebrews. Yes, sir.
Okay, so Before you do this is fantastic what you're saying and sharing. But don't you have to have ambition, something that ignites the seed, something, because I'm the oldest of 9, and all my brothers and sisters didn't have ambition. I'm recording what, Catholic family, oldest of 9, but it is ambition that starts something. Something has to be an initiative to go for where you're going on your path in life, and for all of us, right?
Oh, absolutely. So the comment was, do you also have to, before maybe any of that happens, do you have to have ambition? And absolutely, you have to have something that sparks you, right? But we're all born with an innate purpose, right? I mean, I used to tell the kids, you're not here by accident. I don't care what your mom and dad say. The Lord planned for you to be here. Why weren't you born in 1050? Or why weren't you born with Christ, right? So we all have that purpose, and then it's just taking that purpose.
Could we, just one more note.
Yeah.
Could we say it's the Holy Spirit that brings the ambition? Because to me, the Holy Spirit brought me here today.
Uh-huh.
And I think it's important that the mystery, that this is what we need today in our world, is to surrender to the Holy Spirit.
Yeah, he and I are in speaking terms, and I said that you should come, so I'm glad he listens to. I told him all my plans, and I'm totally teasing. That did not happen. I did pray for this day, but no, not that. But yes, you're exactly right. So the Holy Spirit, obviously, the gifts of the Holy Spirit, right? You have the gifts of the Holy Spirit and the fruits of the Holy Spirit, and part of that is charisms, and the charisms are the special gifts that you have. And the charisms, are you familiar with charisms? Some people are, some maybe not as much. Okay, so all of us are blessed with all sorts of positive things that we have, actual graces. Charisms are those things that you can do that just, for whatever reason, you have a knack for it. You get energized when you do it. Not that every single day you're going to pop out of bed and go, woohoo, here we go. Human nature says, no, that's not going to happen. But most days you're like, I have a knack for it. I get energized by doing it. And let's just use teaching, where people would say, you know what, it never made sense to me before, but when you did it, whoever the teacher was, you had all those, you might have had one of those teachers. It was just like, they had a knack for it. They were really good at, or singer, or a woodworker, or someone that does music, there's 20, 25 different charisms that they've identified. And so it is a natural knack for something. It energizes you. It makes a difference in people, and people notice it. They'll come up and say things to you. And so those are the things that the Holy Spirit has given you. Once you get through all of the cultural, social stuff, and you can dial that in, then you're not working anymore. Then you're following the Holy Spirit, and you're just, not that it's going to be easy. People always look at that and say, oh, well, it should just be easy now. I'm with the Lord, and it's one of my biggest issues with some of the, and I love that they have more Christian movies coming out. But one of the things I always struggle with the Christian movies is like, that's not life, though. Just because you've got Jesus in your life doesn't mean that all of a sudden things are going to start floating perfect. My Lord, look at the apostles. Can you imagine that group? Hey, come on. You're not going to make any money. Everyone's going to hate you, and you're probably going to die a horrific death. Do you want to come aboard? And people are like, yeah, I'm in, right? So, but great points. Ambition, Holy Spirit, purpose. Yeah. Any other thoughts, comments? All right, awesome. Well, thank you very much.